what do you make of the OSP's report that apparently brings this matter to a close?
Something. Good morning to you and good morning to my senior, my brother, who I've not seen for a long time.
Come and join me.
He's looking very good.
Come and join me on the farm.
Samson, let me state without any ambiguity that I agree with the findings of the OSP, but I disagree with its conclusion. And let me repeat, I agree with the findings of the OSP, but I disagree respectfully with the conclusions that he came with. What are the facts? As you narrated, about 3 judicial bodies out of the jurisdiction have come into conclusion that Airbus have paid monies to intermediaries to induce or get the business from officials in other countries, including Ghana. Airbus by themselves, with this unimpeachable evidence, approach the investigators, America, France, and UK. And they themselves agree and submit to judgment to avoid prosecution. If Airbus, in their view, were of the view that, in fact, the evidence as gathered was not what it is, they will have challenged the evidence before the judicial bodies. They didn't challenge it. They agreed. Having agreed to these positions, they paid fines to avoid prosecution. Now we are being told that Adam Maam is saying that the monies he received were indeed commissions. They were legitimate monies. I disagree. If indeed these monies were legitimate monies, what were paid to him by Airbus should not submit to judgment and say that, well, these monies that we paid to Samuel Mahama and other people were all not legitimate monies. Now, fast track forward.
2 questions before you fast track.
Yes.
Airbus agreed to these positions. As a lawyer, when you agree with your client to submit to a plea bargain, does that mean your client is actually guilty, in fact?
You see, Sammy.
We're educating the public. I just want you to help me with the education.
Yes, Sammy. Based on facts, material facts gathered by prosecution, and based on the law enforced, the law enforced in America, and this other jurisdiction was that once Airbus took the view that they were liable, they could take advantage of the plea bargain and submit to judgment. And that's exactly what they did.
We have the same thing in Ghana. You must have led some clients to do a plea bargain. I have done that before. Let's educate the public. When you submit to an agreement such as this, does it mean automatically that you are actually guilty?
I hold that view that yes, once you decide that you are liable, you don't want to contest the judgment, the findings of an investigator, then you are liable.
But is that the law?
That is the view I hold.
Okay.
That's the view I hold, because if indeed you think that you are not liable, you must contest it.
You know that businesses sometimes will look into the reportage and the consequences to their name by way of a criminal prosecution and decide to enter an agreement to avoid prosecution. And that, in fact, prosecution could fail.
Of course. Of course. But you see, look at this. Look at the material facts in this matter.
No, I'm just...
No.
I'm just asking you about the legal points for you to agree or disagree that this is what the law is.
It is possible that the business may consider its image and say, well, we don't want to drag our name in the mud, and
That's
so
correct.
therefore want to enter into judgment.
That's correct.
To save our reputation.
That's correct.
And look at the material facts in this particular case.
Okay.
To the extent that in the first two aircraft, right, even when, you see, you're talking about thoughts, even when the deal had gone through and they realized that they could not pay someone, Adam Maam, directly, okay, the Airbus officials set up, they made another company, a Spanish company, all right, use that company, pay the money to the company as a conduit for the money to be paid to Mahama, someone Adam Maam. What was it for? You see,
So
don't truncate my thoughts.
This is my second preliminary question.
Okay.
This is not the major thing. So you can
Yes.
go ahead with your presentation. If what you are saying remains the law and the factual situation, therefore, you disagree with the UK Serious Fraud Office investigations also, who say that they are unable to prosecute Samuel Adam Maam and the other persons, even though Airbus submitted to this agreement and made the payment.
No, they said, the letter I read, they said they will not prosecute them because they were doing further investigation. And that their investigation have turned out that they cannot prosecute them. That's what they contain the letter.
That's the point. They cannot prosecute them.
Yes, they cannot prosecute them.
At least in the meantime.
In the meantime, that is the letter. But you see, let me make the point so our viewers can really listen to what I'm saying. And I will come back a bit.
Okay.
Now,
You want to see his face?
I want to see his face. You see, something. 2009, former President Mahama becomes Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. All of a sudden, we hear the name Samuel Adam Maam surface, leading the charge for Airbus to do business for Airbus on this C-295 military aircraft. All of a sudden, at that time, they didn't occur to former President Mahama that the person leading the transaction for Airbus was indeed his blood brother, and that there could be potential or serious conflict of interest situations on the matter. It didn't occur to him that as Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, and then as by that reason, the Chairman of the Armed Forces Council, a key decision maker in the matter, and the person now leading directly these transactions in meetings in London, in email communications, in his offices, and all that, it didn't occur to him that potentially there was something untoward about these transactions.
The OSP raises that
Yes,
question, right?
that's the point I'm making. So, something.
So how do you agree with the finding but disagree with the conclusion?
This is the finding. I agree with the findings. It's the conclusion I disagree with.
So how do you disagree with the conclusion when the finding does not lead to
The findings as they are contained in the report, all right, are at variance with the conclusion.
establish that?
That is where I'm going. Don't truncate my thoughts.
I'm not truncating you. Go ahead.
Now, you see something? You have the Samuel Adam Maam, okay? He being the blood brother of former President Mahama, leading the charge for this business. No other place other than Ghana. There were other countries which we were told that he was dealing with. And yet, they brought him to Ghana. And look at the aggressiveness with which Airbus was pursuing their business operations and offering monies and inducement and all that to officials of state. Fast track forward. We are now being told that this business actually went through. And then the first 2 aircrafts were signed. And Ghana paid for it. Why? We were expecting to see a direct bribery being given to Mahama, and then he carried the money direct to his brother in Ghana. Is that what we were expecting to see? I don't think so. You can never find in these transactions direct money being given to anybody. You can never find it. Okay. So it is the activities that you have to go around and look at the circumstances and look at the person's involvement. What was his interest? In being the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, sitting in a meeting in London, at the same time, being the Vice President of Ghana, entertaining these officials in his office, being copied in emails and communication and all that, why was he doing all these things? directly doing all these things. That's how you look at it. But there's no way we can never find direct money being given to former President Mahama in this transaction. There's no way. In any event, there is a finding of fact by all the trade jurisdictions that indeed monies were paid to Samuel Adam Mahama. And Airbus didn't dispute that fact.
Okay, so if I may ask a question without you saying I'm terminating your, truncating your thoughts. Do you realize that on the facts, Samuel Adam Mahama, whose employee was he? If you were to use the term employee, whose employee was he? Airbus. So he was an agent.
Loosely.
He was
Airbus.
an agent
Yes,
for
loosely
them.
Airbus, yes.
Okay. He was dealing with how many other countries apart from Ghana?
Yeah, there were several countries.
About 11
Sri
in
Lanka, I see Sri Lanka, I see...
No, African countries.
African
About
countries.
11 in total.
Yes, yeah.
Correct? Correct?
Yes.
Good. So your point is that when John Mahama comes into government and then you use the terminology suddenly,
Yes.
are you being fair to the facts in that regard?
Why am I not being fair to the facts? Why were there were other people, other agents of Airbus? Why is it that it's only him who was made to come to Ghana? Something, read the report very well.
No,
you will see the
have
aggressive.
Just admitted,
no, you will see the
you
aggressive.
have just admitted
Yes.
that Samuel Adam Mahama was an agent for Airbus and was doing business for them for at least 11 countries and or so many countries.
That is according to the investigation of the OSP.
So your statement that John Mahama comes into office and then suddenly he becomes someone who is working for Airbus for the aircraft is an unfair statement, it's an inaccurate statement,
Because
correct?
at the time of the engagement, it was on the latter part of 2019. It is in the record.
No. If
2009.
if you hear my question,
Yes, 2009. That's what is contained here.
your suggestion,
That is contained in the report. Read the
your suggestion was that his brother comes into government and then suddenly,
2009.
and suddenly he begins to front for Airbus for a business.
in Ghana, with Ghana. These are the facts contained in the report. Or you haven't read the report, something.
I take it that you don't understand my question.
What is your question?
Do you realize that when Airbus discovered the close relationships with the president, the vice president, or John Mahama, they did something. They terminated the contract.
The first one, which was flagged by Airbus internal, compliance, it was ignored.
No.
It's in the report.
Answer
The
in the
first
affirmative
one
or
was
in the negative.
Listen.
No, but you see,
The first one-
we need to be fair to the facts to our audience. And I don't want us to begin on this note. But
first
I
one-
just want to
Samson,
answer my question.
the
Did
first one-
Airbus terminate the contract when they discovered the relationship between the two?
That was terminated, but not.
Thank you.
But before.
Okay.
Before, Airbus internal compliance, all right, has seen this close familiar relationship, which was ignored.
What's the point?
The point is that Airbus internal people, they themselves realize the familiar relationship between the decision maker, the key decision maker, and his brother were meant to come to an interesting situation.
Okay.
But
I
that was
take it that
ignored.
you have not concluded your point yet. Continue to establish why you agree with the findings but disagree with the conclusion.
You see something. The point ought to be made that in such a situation where you are looking for a scenario of somebody being either in conflict of interest situation or somebody being suspected corruption or corruption-related offenses, you have to look at the whole circumstances. Because, for me, if I look at the timing, the time when Samuel Adam Mahama sought to engage the Republic of Ghana on these deals, it raises red flag. 2, the time that former President Mahama went to the United Kingdom to lead the business, the official business, for them to do a presentation for them. And he presented over the presentation when he knew that his brother was the person leading the transaction for Airbus. It raises red flag. The time that email communications, it was in copy.
Blind copy.
Over this same transaction, it raises red flags. The time that Airbus officials, and he admitted all these things, came into the country, went to his office on these same transactions, it raises red flags. He ought to have known that, yes, as a matter of fact, it is my brother, my blood brother who is in the transaction. These are serious situations. Now, you do not expect, with all respect.
So the OSP should have done what? Should have concluded that there is basis for prosecution. Is that what you're saying?
There's a strong basis, in my view, to suggest conflict of interest situations, which...
Prosecution for conflict of interest. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying, conflict of interest situations which should be referred to relevant authorities for them to look at it again. And in the issue of direct bribery.
Help me educate my...
Of direct bribery.
Help me educate my...
I'm saying you cannot find direct bribery.
Okay.
You cannot find direct bribery.
Thank you.
But you can find suspicious activity. Because what was his interest in moving all these things? What was his interest?
You are saying that if you are the Attorney General, if you are the OSP, you will take this to court for corruption and corruption-related offenses.
It's difficult to take it to court. It's difficult to take it to court because you're not finding direct evidence. Even the circumstantial evidence is still difficult.
So what's the point of your disagreement with the OSP?
You can still see, something. Can't you yourself see traces or elements?
Help me to see it.
You can't see it.
I'm talking to you as a lawyer.
Something.
And with our training.
Something. You cannot see. Something. You cannot see.
With our training.
I'm asking you.
Corruption prosecution is a criminal prosecution. The burden is proof beyond all reasonable doubts. And you must not go with suspicion, because the Supreme Court says a multitude of suspicions cannot constitute proof. You know that. So if you agree with the finding and you disagree with the conclusion, and now I'm asking you to demonstrate your disagreement with the conclusion, and you say conflict of interest, but no corruption or direct payment of bribe, you cannot be saying you disagree with the OSP then.
Something. Look at paragraph 6.
Paragraph 6. Please forgive us and allow us to go through it this way methodically. There are other lawyers who are joining us. We'll hear from them.
Read the paragraph 6.5.
6.5. 6.5 says, and I read, the OSP investigation found no evidence that former President Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and its associates in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana of military transport aircraft from Airbus. And it appears to the OSP that the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal were actuated by good intentions on the part of the former.
I'm saying, what was, and I ask this question, the former president's interests in closing this deal when he knew, or ought to have known, that the person behind this deal or leading the transaction was his blood brother? Go to 6.6.
He says the procurement process. So the OSP has taken all the procurement documents, gone through all of it, and can't find the former president in there.
Are you aware that this procurement started...
Can't find Adam Maam in there, but the Airbus and Ghana contracting. What do you want him to do?
Are you aware that this procurement process started even in Kufuor's time? It was only in Mills' time that they changed the brand of the aircraft. And all that time, these names were not there. And I'm saying that at the time they changed the brand of the aircraft to the Airbus, then you saw Adam Maam surface and leading the transaction for Airbus. And I'm asking you a question. I'm not even asking a question. I'm raising the question that it appears to the OSP that there's direct communication and meetings between the former President Mahama and the officials of Airbus to close the deal were actually by good intention on the part of the former. And I'm asking a very important question here. What was the motive of the former president in closing this deal when he knew, or what to have known, that the person who was leading the transaction was his own blood brother?
Tell us about what the motive will be, because like Shakespeare says, there's no art to find the mind's construction in the face.
You see, Samson, that is why I'm saying that in some of these things, you look at the overall circumstances, all right? You can never find a direct transfer or convey of cash to somebody unless you look at the entire circumstance of the matter.
So what should the OSP do?
What should do? He has come out with this report.
Yes.
And we are about to critique the report.
Yes.
And make our input on the report.
Correct.
That's what we are doing.
Yes.
It's like a judgment of the court. So he has come out with his findings, how he sees it.
Not exactly a judgment of the court.
No, I'm saying how he sees it.
The last time the OSP made something that was close to categorical statements on its investigations against Colonel Damois and others, the court, scrapped that portion of the OSP statement.
Well,
so I suspect when I'm reading and I'm hearing the OSP say it seems, I think it is taking a cue from what the court has told it.
Well, so, but you see, where there has been definitive pronouncement by a court of competent jurisdiction in the UK and in the US and France on their findings of facts. I mean, forget about the fact that, yes, they didn't involve the named parties. They were not involved in the investigation. Airbus took the whole liability and then
like vicarious liability, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole liability and then pay the fines. That notwithstanding, I am saying that if indeed Airbus took the view that they can defend that action, or they could have defended that action, they will have done so. They will never have, in my view, all right, paid this huge money as compensation to these countries. That's the way I see it.
Thank you. Now hold on there.